Alrighty, and we are live and good. Everything is working as intended. That's what I like to see, guys. Hello, and we're back with the Tabletop Workshop. Okay, that's all, folks. Nice to see you. I can't talk today, apparently. That's just the way that it is. I guess that I'm just joking. I'm joking. Ah, my goodness. Words are hard. Anyway, so welcome to the Tabletop Workshop, where I kind of go through what I do as a game master to prep for my games and everything like that. Probably should do. There we go. What? Okay, sorry, my brain shut down there for half a second. But yes, welcome to the Tabletop Workshop, where I, like I said, tell you how I go about making my D&D world and how I prep for it. It's a Tabletop Workshop, where I workshop stuff out, and I find things, let's see, get rid of this thing right there. There we go. That's all we need. Anyway, so, what's the point of the entire thing? Well, like I said, and I have repeated myself 4 times in a row now, because I am dumb and don't know how to talk. That's just the way that it is sometimes, I guess. Anyway, so, yeah, let's go ahead and get on with the explanation of what we're doing today. So, as we all know, in a tabletop world, in most fantasy things, we have, you know, magic items and other things and spells and homebrew and all that other stuff. And while it's nice to have official content constantly, it is also nice to have custom items. So take this Silverlight Cross Habitat gemstone here, which I think is, I need an E here at the end. There we go. There we go. So, what is this thing? Well, as in my world, I have a unique magic item called the Magical Gemstone. These are gemstones that are imbued with natural magical energies that can be utilized for various magic tools and other components for items and everything like that. So it's a way for non-magical casters to have magic. And in this case, this is the Silverlight Cross Apatite. Apatite aim. It's a gemstone. Oh, and like if I actually go to, if I actually search up this thing right here, you'll see what it is. It is a bluish, greenish emerald, or not emerald, mineral that exists. Right, very beautiful. But this is a magical gemstone with a unique natural cross formation not commonly seen. And this gemstone holds within it a vast amount of magical energy and is capable of absorbing and releasing that energy without shattering the gemstone itself. And what this one does is when damage is done via a spell, this gemstone gains a charge of magic. As an action, you can use a charge to heal a target creature 1d10 plus the caster's modifier. For each charge used, and then for each charge used, add 1 additional d10. This gem can hold up to 5 charges. So, what is this thing, get some more punctuation here real fast. There we go. So, what does this mean exactly in regards of why did I design it this way, everything like that? That's always a thought process to kind of go through. And my thought process is, this is a late game item, or possibly an early game item, depending upon what the party is consisting of. So, in my world, eventually there's going to be a breakdown of classes from the multiple different classes that we currently have to 4 classes, where one of these classes is the healer class. And there may be a scenario where players don't want to play a healing class. They want to play just a martial class or a mage class or a supporter class. They don't want to be the healer. This gemstone is kind of to help supplement it for those who may not be magically healing oriented, but can easily do so. But it also could be easily utilized by a healer to add on additional healing for them, so that they can, you know, be more useful and have more options. So That's the idea behind this thing, and the reason I made it so powerful is because of that fact. And 1d10 plus the caster's modifier is quite a lot. So if you have a casting modifier of 6, well, you have a minimum of 7 healing being done when you use a charge, and it's rechargeable. Also, you can actually hold up to a number of charges and reuse it over and over. It's a renewable healing source, but you've got to deal damage with a spell. So a martial fighter who doesn't have access to a spell won't have much use out of it, but a mage that focuses more on damaging oriented spells can now have a healing option available. So in D&D terms, think of a warlock. If a warlock has this gemstone equipped, every time they cast Eldritch Blast, they'll gain a charge that they can use to heal a creature. Or if the wizard has it, the wizard can easily use Fireball, damage a bunch of creatures, gets a charge out of the damage. And then if he needs to heal, he could heal someone as well. So it spreads the healing to non-healing focused classes, which is my idea behind it. I limited it to 5 charges, so if, say, the caster has a 0 modifier to casting and they happen to roll 5 10s out of a d10, that's 50 health back. That's a lot of health back. That's why there's a limitation on it. All good magic items have an appeal and a drawback. Alright, that's in my opinion. Now, the drawback could be very minor, such as, okay, in order to use this weapon, you have to have it equipped. Or in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you have to be attuned to it, which means you make a sacrifice of having a attunement slot used for this item. Personally, I've never been a fan of the attunement system myself. That's why I have the gemstone thing, where you have limited slots and you can easily slot it out during a short rest. So it's much like the attunement system, but you have more options available to you in this regard. And that's the reason why I have it. I'm going to add a period at the end here as well. But this is just one magic item, I think. And if I go over here, you can see I've made a ton of homebrew stuff. Now, this is everything, but if I go down to magic items and filter the selection out, you'll see that I have a ton of magical items that I've made for various things. Some of them are copies of things, so I can work off of them and rename them something else, such as the bag of holding here. I've had to make several different bag of holdings for my party for various reasons. I don't think I have one missing on here, but you can see, like, I have a number of things on it. Oh, there it is, the apothecary's bag of storage right there. What is this thing? It's basically a bag of holding, but it's specifically built for apothecaries equipment. So you have things like herbs and berries and things like that put into it. That was the whole point behind it. Anyway, it is purely designed to hold potions and potion creating ingredients. That is specifically what it's meant for. I probably will add on a few things. Hello there. Alright, the bots are working today, so yay, hooray. Oops, maybe do that. Let's go back. There we go. Yes, the bots are working today. I got all the commands in there. I don't know if the timer bot is working, but I have all the commands for that bot anyway. But yeah, I still haven't figured out the timer bot. I need to find a new timer bot in general. I am awake and cannot speak. I'll leave it at that. That's how I'll mention it. That's why I'm awake. Okay, anyway, yawn aside. So, as you can see, I have a ton of different things in there. I include, the armor that basically says, like, oh yeah, this has 1 magical gemstone slot or 2 magical gemstone slot. There's nothing special about these. They're just armor with gemstone slots in it. That's why they're there. How's the stream going? I don't know. We've only been in here for 15 minutes. I'll let you know in 2 hours. But you also see, like, I have these things. Bundle of berries, bundle of herbs. And I have all these things. And this is simply for just tracking purposes. And then there is a thing. A bundle of poison herbs. Herbs that used to make a variety potion, including that of poison potions. Each bundle is 10 individual herbs, each weighing 0.1 pound each. So this weighs 1 pound because it's because I put measurements and weight on there because I'm dumb and made my life more complicated. We also have things in here such as the Crescent Moon Guard. This is the magic item that is part of a set. And there it is right there. I handle the rapier and the graves with 3 unique. Oh, I said flower-like. I have to change that. I'll probably have to change that later. Point is that like this item right here is exactly the fact that this is exactly the weapon that fucking brain is shutting down. Maybe I shouldn't have streamed today. I don't know, man. My brain is not functioning right now. Probably doesn't help I don't have water, but it's too soon to leave for water. I'll probably leave at the 30-minute mark to go get water. Dear. Anyway, so I just want to do this thing. Alright. Anyway, so with that in mind, yeah, here's some of the other things I have, like the Dragon Steel Battle Axe. What does this thing do? It's nothing. It's just a battle axe that says rolling a 19 or 20 on a crit counts as a crit. If a class already has this, the crit chance drops to 18, 19, and 20 on a d20 roll. Oh, that's just stuff saying. So that's my thought process behind making a weapon. I do have this one, the Elemental Halberd. This is a really old item. Probably needs to be updated. But pretty much right there. It is a halberd. Oh god. Seriously, I am so out of it right now. Oh god. Alright, we're getting there. Anyway, you know, once a yeah, but like this guy right here, my thought process was, this thing gets an elemental weapon, and like that. And it gains elemental runes that allow it to do stuff. As a bonus action, you can use one element, which the halberd will channel until the wielder dismisses or loses consciousness. This weapon only has one major flaw in its design. The weapon has only one major flaw in its design, being that if unused for a long period of time, the enchantment runes will lose their power. Now, while the weapon itself remains magical for all time, it loses its power. It must regain it through, which is the wrong through, usage, and or by other means of arcane enchantment. With no elemental runes available, the halberd is only a +1 magical item. Once it unlocks 3 runes, it becomes a +2 magical item. When it unlocks the 6 runes of wind, water, earth, fire, radiant, and necromancy, it becomes a +3 weapon. Other runes exist on this weapon, and other runes that exist on a weapon will include like Force, Thunder, Frost, or any other damage types the DM wishes to place on the weapon. This weapon must be attuned to with when a single rune is unlocked to gain the full power of this weapon and everything like that. So, yeah, like I said, the drawback is that the thing should start off with no power, and then as the adventure goes on, you gain the ability to upgrade it and unlock it. And I think I have a quote here for stuff like, if I had to go into it, what does it look like here? That's a terrible quote, but you can see like, elemental halberd, and there's a previous version right there. But to my surprise, this weapon right here, the elemental halberd, has 122 looks at and 9 hands, so it's one of my more popular ones. Everything else is unpublished though. But you can see that I have very large number thing. I do have like the hill giant armor. Wow, this thing actually got used quite a bit. 6 things, nice. But yeah, there's several items that I've actually used for various things. Then I have all my magical gemstones, as you can see right there, for various different things, and each one does a various different abilities. So, for instance, the sapphire here does cold damage. So, if placed in armor, reduces its cold damage by 1d6, and it adds 1d6 cold damage there. And that's the crack. This is the regular sapphire version. But if I have a cracked version, which is, you know, less powerful, it does only 1d4. Yeah. Yep. And if a large amount of damage is dealt, deals over 15 damage to or by the creature using this gem, roll 1d8. On a 1, 2, or 3, the gemstone breaks and is no longer usable. So the drawback of this one is, yes, it's a little boost of magical power, but if it's cracked, it doesn't do much. And then the same thing for the Zyklon right here. It does wind/force damage. I don't have the cracked version of it yet because I haven't made it yet. But that's my thought. But a lot of it is to think of the thought process behind it. I have different potions for various different things because I have one of my players being a potion crafter. And there it is. Good gemstone staff for the magical things. One of my personal favorite ones right here is the Ring of Wardrobe, which is mostly just a copy-paste from D&D Wiki, the Ring of Wardrobe, specifically, which is basically just saying, like, hey, you can store armor in here. And then I have the Ring of Weapon Storage, which is the exact opposite, only it's for weapons and everything. So, in combination, you become Urza. What I might do in my world, I might make another item that is a combination of both. Just so it's, instead of one separate item, instead of 2 separate items, it's one solid item. But I'll have to go through things. Oh, here's another example of the Bag of Holding copy of the satchel amount of things. Hey, look, it's very similar to the Bag of Holding. Gee, I wonder why. Only it holds 50 pounds as opposed to the larger amount that the Bag of Holding holds. Here we go, the Staff of Snakes. So here is my druid thing. This is a tiered item. So basically, as you get more and more more and more spots for it, it becomes more and more powerful. So right here, the Staff of Snakes shows that it has 3 gem slots and an attachment slot, which I have to double check and make sure it's up to date, because I may have given it 2 attachment slots recently, because I also have it in Google Drive, but I'm not bringing that up today because I'm not bringing it up today. Then we got like the Star Diamond Gemstone right here. I also have the old version of it as well, which is just a diamond cut star. It's pretty much the same thing. But you can see like where my thought processes change from when I first invented an item to where I am now. Because originally the hilt said flower-like gemstone. Nope, it's a star and it's a star-shaped gemstone in it now. Like, well, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh no. Oh dear, what am I gonna do? It's called retcon. It's called retcon and everything. But you can see, like, I also have items in from other campaigns, such as the sort of Calverus, which I think was in a campaign I was playing a part of for a bit. I don't even know where I got this one from. Oh wait, I think this was an item I found on the market. But nope, that's one of mine. I don't know. Got the white plate elven armor. Wah. And a white elven blade. This one wasn't mine, and this was someone else's that I made on here. The vicious dragon steel longsword. Ooh, he's vicious, guys. He's a vicious blade. But yeah, the point is that that's the thing about magic items, is that they come in all shapes and forms, and sometimes making an item doesn't necessarily mean that. Welcome back. Making an item doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be a magical item. It could be a mundane item. It could just be like the sword. The Dragonsteel sword is not a magical item. It's a sword made with Dragonsteel and has a unique property to it. So that's the thing that I made for it. And that's the challenge when it comes to doing homebrew builds versus official builds. Official builds tend to already be balanced out, tend to already be thought of, and they're there for you to use and make use of. Homebrew gets a little bit finicky. Let's go to let's actually go to is this the marketplace here? I don't know. Nope, that's not what I want. Community. No. Browse homebrew. So, you've probably seen this on XP to level 3 and everything like that. But let's go ahead and view some of the magical items that are in here. We can kind of get the idea of one thing. Wow. Okay, someone did fucking... Oh, my goodness. I like this. So this is just Nordic runes and everything. No idea what it is. Add 2d6 fire damage if ignited. The sword can make itself on fire from base of the blade to the tip due to mechanism inside made in its hilt. A roll on 1d20, add extra 1d6 to 2d6 fire damage if blade is inside of an enemy and ignited. No modifiers can be added to make it more advantageous. For said 1d20, play must hit 13 or above for added damage. Sword looks like sword with half. Sword looks like a sword and a half with rune scripture up its blade. Aid insert runes here, and has a button on the hilt that can ignite the blade. Proficiency with longsword allows you to add your proficiency bonus to attack roll for any attack rolls you make with it. That part is redundant, does not need to be in there. But there's an example. Like, okay, this blade, it does fire damage. It has a button that ignites it. I understand where it's coming from. English is probably not their first thing, but oh god, it had minus 30 on its rating there. What do the poor comments say on this thing? Can we go to the item, please? Hello? Can I go to it? Beauty device. Okay. So Flame Tongue Sword. Elda Flamtech runes? Some other kind of Norse runes? The sword looks like a sword and a half. It's just a sword. Then another sword attached to it somehow, but only half of it. Don't make fun of the English things. But you can see that there's certain things. But if I actually go to like the ratings here, and so this is one of the top rated items. Look at how many ads there are. What makes this? Oh, it's Matt Mercer. That's why. That makes sense. The boots of the vigilant. What is it saying? While you wear these boots, you can sense impending danger. After you roll initiative, you can choose to roll 1d8 and add it to your initiative roll. Once this ability is used, it cannot be used again until the next dawn. That is a very... I can understand why this is a very popular item. Not because Matt Mercer made it, but because this is actually a really good magical item. So when you roll initiative, you get an additional 1d8 to your initiative, but you can't use it again in the combat. So you have to be mindful of what combat you do. If you get into a small combat with bandits or little kobolds, and it's not like a major boss encounter, using it then, not a good idea. But you get to, fighting the demi-lich that's in the lower recesses of the dungeon. Now you want that initiative bonus. Alright. That's a very, The drawback, again, this item has a very powerful effect and a drawback. The drawback being, you can only use it once a day. So you can't use it twice a day. You get a very powerful effect, but it's only once per time. You can kind of see just like that. The Magician's Judge is another Matt Mercer creation here. Once utilized, so this is fluff text. Fluff text not a thing. And this is the important bit right here. If you hit a creature with this weapon and choose to cast Dispel, you can choose to cast Dispel Magic against the target as part of the attack. Alternatively, you can use an action to cast Dispel Magic spell at the target of your choice. This spell costs a 3rd level, and the ability check bonus for this is the spell is +3. Once you use this feature, it cannot be used again until the next dawn. This is basically saying proficiency with Greatsword allows you to add your proficiency bonus to attack with any roll made with it. I think that's just a flat way of just saying, like, if you're proficient with Greatsword, you could use it. Which, you know, if you're wielding a Greatsword, you would think that you must be proficient with it. It's self-explanatory. So, Matt Mercer, you do not need to put this in here. It's implied that wielding a greatsword means that you are proficient with greatswords. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to use it. But you can see, once again, the can only be used once a day scenario here, but a very powerful thing. It's just a greatsword that has the ability to cast Dispel Magic. Doesn't do much else, but it's a really good item there. But we can see, like, there's other ones on here. Let's look at a non-Matt Mercer one, because we know Matt Mercer's a good DM. All or Nothing Coin. That's a pretty high rated one here. So this is just a wondrous uncommon item. On a roll, you would normally use a d20. On a roll that you would normally use a d20, flip a coin instead. If heads is a critical success, nat 20. Tails is a critical fail, nat 1. It can be used twice per short rest. So basically, that's a fun little item. Basically, you opt out of a roll as your drawback. So while the DC, so say the DC is 10. The DC of any of the challenges is 10. You don't know the DC, but you're deciding to go all in. You have a 50% chance you succeed or you fail. Short, sweet, simple, understandably wise, popular. But now let's go ahead and look at, you know, the low rating ones. What makes these items less helpful? The Necronomicon of the Undead. It's the lowest rating one right here. It has 26 comments, but we'll read the comments here in a bit as we talk about what makes this item different from everything else. The Necronomicon of the Undead has a hard skin like leather, and it just is all fluff text. Origins. Necronomicon Undead was there before. Again, this is more fluff thing. That's more fluff text. Powers. The Necronomicon Undead grants the power to summon any number of undead creature. Alright, that's really powerful. What's the curse though? Whoever wields this book will have an eternal curse on them once untouched. The curse will not let you throw or let the book go until you die. The only way to lift this curse is rolling a dice. If you roll the dice, if you use up all the charges in the book. Okay. Alright. So, let's go read the comments. I think I know where the problem of this thing is. One of those item things. So, with this item, I can summon 1,000,000 Dracolich. Yep. I like the flavor of the book a lot, but the wording is a bit strange and non-specific. Heck, yep. I would try something. You can use an action in it to you can use an action to react control over any number of undead creature that you have created for 24 hours. Re-exert control on the thing, and then give it enough. And then by giving it some options to cast undead spells like Animated Dead and things like giving it options to do stuff for some charges. Yeah. So yeah, this guy is giving some good advice, saying like, yeah, it needs more specific text. Can you summon any number of undead? Great. That's the thing. And then this one, this is the biggest thing I saw. The only way to let this occurs is rolling the dice when you use up all the charges in this book. What charges, bro? Exactly. There's no mention of charges in here. We got flavor text and flavor text, and then we got the power, what it does, and the curse that comes with it. The book that names the undead of the undead, because that's what the Necronomicon is that's the definition thing. My dude, please be specific on your wording, or I will summon 15,000 demi-liches and become the next BPG. Now tell me, who's here because of XP to level 3? Sounds about right. But yes, this is an example of an item that is not well thought out. Now, granted, I'm sure the user did think this out when they were making the book. Understandably, you could tell they thought about it. They put a lot of origin and fluff text in here to describe it. But the powers here are unbalanced or non-existent. That's the biggest issue that's going to have. I can understand why it's on the lowest rating thing. But what's this one about? About a sword of Godslaying. Alrighty. Angelic Wrath. All attacks made with this weapon are made at an advantage, and 2 attacks can be made as a bonus action. Okay. Angelic Mercy. You can cast Healing Ward as a reaction at a first level. If you see an ally fall unconscious within 60 feet. You can cast Healing Ward as a reaction at first level if you see an ally fall unconscious within 60 feet, even if you don't have access to the spell. That's not a bad one. This is actually not a bad ability. Hey, an emergency reaction like Healing Ward! That's it! Hey, you're up. Bam. I like that. After level 15, Attunement Growth. While attuned to this weapon, you can add your character level to the hit and damage totals for this weapon. Holy shit. That is a lot of numbers. Phoebe! Enough barking. Good God. Death Strike. Rolling a 20 on a melee attack results in activating the effect of the Power Word Kill spell, targeting any creature within 60 feet. Oh God. And Broken Divinity. Targets damaged by this weapon can't regain hit points until the start of their next turn. So, here's my problem with this weapon. This is overkill. This is an example of an overkill weapon. So, let's take this into a basic account. We're gonna put this on a fighter. A fighter can do upwards of 5 to 12 attacks in a turn with action surges and everything like that. So if we take, let's say I'm gonna bring up my book here real fast. Give me a second. I got the player's book right here. I'm gonna go to the fighter subclass here. Where's the fighter? All right. Let's go say they're a level 11 fighter. They have extra attack 2. So now they get 3 attacks in their turn. Normally. Hey, their attack action now counts as 3 attacks. So you get 3 attacks with the thing, plus 2 additional attacks as a bonus action. That's 5 attacks in 1 turn from a fighter. Imagine what they're like at level 20, where they get 4 attacks. You got your regular attack, because they got extra attack 3, which means that you get it from first extra attack 2, 3, 4 attacks at level 20. So now that is 7 attacks. That is now 6 attacks a fighter can make on their normal turn. Plus action surge is another 4 attacks. Next, so a grand total of 10 attacks by the fighter. And on top of that, If they're using like other things to give them advantage, or they just roll in that 20, well, now the target is get power word kill, which does a massive ton of damage there. And also they can't regain hit points, and it's additional plus 20 to attack rolls. You're not missing anything. You could roll a nat 2 and it's a 22 at level 20. So unless the boss has like an AC of 3, you're never missing with this weapon. And I'll tell you right now, most enemies, most high level enemies don't have an AC above like 25. Heck, most of them don't even have an AC above 20. That's just the nature of what it is. If I bring up the monsters manual, I'm gonna look up the Tarask, you know, the biggest, most dangerous creature in the entirety of the thing. Alright, get to the T section here. Get past skeletons and everything. That's right. Here we go. The Tarask. What is its armor class? 25. Its armor class is 25. Now, mind you, it only has, in the book here, 673 hit points. So, what does it have? Does it have any healing capabilities on itself? No. It does not have any natural healing capabilities aside from a natural resting thing of it. So the fighter goes up and deals, let's see, I'm gonna do this. Let's put my book down here, grab this book. I'm going to look up power word kill to see how much damage it actually does. Alright. Power word kill. Where is power word kill? Power word kill, 9th level spell. Out of a powerful, the creature takes 100 hit points of damage. Yeah, power word kill. Power word kill. If the creature has 100 hit points or fewer, it dies. Nice. That's just what it is. It just dies. So let's go further on this thing. A longsword does 1d8. It's a longsword, so 1d8 damage. I'm gonna bring up a calculator here. You're not gonna see the calculator, but I'm gonna bring it up and do the thing. Yeah. So actually, wait. I can do this. Let's go to AnyDice. AnyDice here is a fantastic little website here. If you need to figure out dice calculations and everything. Maybe. Come on, AnyDice. Load up. Load up, AnyDice. Because we got to figure this out in and of its entirety. So we're going to assume that, you know, you're fighting the big bad Tarask as a final boss and everything like that. So you're a level 20 fighter. That's what you are. Let's say that you're a battle master, the classic stereotypical battle master fighter, where you have maneuvers and everything. So at 15th level, you have multiple different maneuvers. Superiority dice. You start off with 4 superiority dice. You gain another superiority dice at 7 and 1 at 15. So now you have 4, 5, 6. You have 6 superiority dice. Nice, of a D8 variety. Let's start off with, I think. Nope, they're D12s now. They're D12s at level 20. And then pretty much any dice is just not functioning today, I guess. Well, dang, I can't figure out that dice calculator. So we're gonna worry about that later. I'm gonna open this up into a new tab here, just so we can see it. No comments have been made on it, but that's fine. Instead, I'm gonna go to my characters, so you can see like my D&D characters and everything like that. Let's go to my fighter right here, you know, Lilith Firebrand. Here we go. A prime example of a fighter. You know, she has a bunch of test things on here right now. So she has a strength of 19, so that's plus 4. Alright. I believe this is Social Die Twin Blade. This is... Okay, so it's pretty much that now. I'm gonna go ahead and level up to level 20. Think maybe, I don't know, hold on a second. I want to make sure I actually have all my... I'm doing the right one. Got Harry, Gary, Larry, Samomaka. There's a level 4. There's so many versions of Lilith and everyone in here. Alright, so she's level 14 here. I believe this is... Yeah, this is the homebrew version. Yep. So this is the homebrew version of a campaign that she's no longer a part of. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to... Oh, not that one. We're going to go here. We're going to make her level 20. Just to have her up to level 20. So now we got 9 maneuvers chosen. I'm just going to choose out 2 more maneuvers. So we're going to do a expanded rules, sweeping attack, and let's also include let's see, how about we do... Why not? We're just gonna do this thing. We're gonna go ahead and do ability score increase, and we're gonna make sure her strength is... Oh, she already has 20 strength. She already has 20 strength, is that it? Oh yeah, she already has 20 strength. So I can't really do much else on there. So instead, we're gonna do a feat. We've got, I don't know. I don't think any of these things really are going to weapon master. I don't think, yeah, it's not gonna work. How about we go... We'll go cruel, important information, just doing these quick feats here, just to kind of showcase, like, what I'm talking about, how, like, this thing is not necessarily a good item. Oh, the dexterity. There we go. Alright. So there we go. We got attack up to 4 times on an attack roll. Alright. So let's go to equipment. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my collection real fast. Alright. Wait a second. I'm going to refresh the page. We're going to add an item. We're gonna do weapon wondrous. A weapon. And we're gonna look up the sword, God-slaying sword here. Add that into here. Just to kind of give you the idea of like what the heck is going on here. So back to the character sheet. Inventory. We're going to equip this and we are going to attune to it. So there we go. We are now attuned to this weapon. Now if this thing's working correctly, we're going to see some stupid shit. So right now, so as the wording of this item states, I'm above level 15. While attuned to this weapon, I get to add my character level and my hit damage to the hit and the damaging. So this is a 24. This is a 24. So let's actually do this. Customize. Hit bonus. We'll add this up to 20. And then damage bonus is 20. There we go. Did that work? I don't think that worked. Did it work? Ah. 20 and 20, enter. We'll just do that. Alright, get rid of that name there. Can I have that plus 20, please? Thank you. Say it. There we go. There we go. It's a plus 34 to hit, guys. I don't think I'm missing anything except for a nat 1. Like, we'll just roll that attack. Okay. That's a 47 to hit. Well, that gets through the thoracic armor. That's the first attack. We're gonna go ahead and we'll do, regular slashing damage. Okay, then. That's 34 damage. Let's make sure that's doing the math correctly. Oh, yeah, plus 28. Plus 28 damage. Okay. Hey, so there's that. Alrighty. Hey, so let's just keep an eye on the math here. I'm gonna keep this right here. So we had 34 damage right there. This is the first attack. I'm not using any maneuvers for this either. Here's the second attack. All right. Hey, look, I rolled an 8. That's a 42 to hit. All right, that hits. We're going to roll that damage. Oh, minimum damage, 29. Okay, well, we're going to add 29 to this damage. So we're at 63 damage. All right, here's the third attack. Oh, no, it's a 38 to hit, guys. Oh, man, I didn't think I was going to miss. Oh, another 29 damage. So I'm rolling terribly for damage purposes, but I'm already at 92 damage. All right, here's the fourth attack. It's a 38 to hit. That still hits. All right, so we're going to roll this. Another 29 damage. Okay, this is a fantastic example of, like... All right, that's 4 attacks. Okay, action surge. I get another 4 attacks. All right, here we go. Why am I even rolling? It doesn't really matter. 31 damage there. Plus 31 damage. All right, we're at 152. Here's another attack. All right, am I so lucky? Oh, there's a 48 to hit. And not a crit yet, but we're doing good. Oh, look at that. Another 34 damage. 34 damage, guys. Oh, man. We're doing good. Here's the third attack on the action surge. Oh, no, it's a 53 to hit, guys. Nice. Oh, ooh, 36 damage. Oh, man. Plus 36. All right, I just want to make sure. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, last attack, guys. Last attack here. What is this attack? Oh, it's a 47 to hit. Okay. No crits today, but here's another 33 damage. All right, then. Now we got a bonus action. We're gonna do bonus action attack, and we get to do a bonus action attack twice, like right here. And where is it? Say, oh yes, all attacks made with this weapon are made. Oh, with advantage. Oh, my bad. I've been doing this wrong the entire time. We'll retcon it later. For the thing, but we're gonna go ahead and do the bonus action attacks. So let's go ahead and do our attack. Here's the first attack. Oh, there it is. Our first natural 1. That's a miss, guys. That is an absolute miss. So we're going to make our second attack. Okay, that one's not a miss. Yes. And for another 31 damage. Okay. So, considering... So, just as a note, in that one turn, with the single action surge, I did 286 damage. The Tarrasque has 676 health out of the book. I dealt a third of its health in one turn and I wasn't even doing it correctly. So let me clear this out again. We are going to roll with advantage. So now we're rolling with advantage. Natural 20. Let's say we're two-handing it. So we're doing the D10 one right here. Here we go. That is a grand total of 38 damage on that first attack. All right, so we got 38. I'm gonna bring up the board here so I can actually see what it is. All right, so there's the first attack. All right. We're now going to, let's see, make sure it's still rolling at advantage. Roll with advantage, all right. What do we got here? 44. Okie dokie, that is, let's see, of our 2Ds. Just want to make sure. There we go. I gotta do it like that. Sorry, my bad. All right, still 44 to hit. Got it. All right, we're two-handed weapon, so here's this damage right here. Okay, 30 damage. So plus 30. We're at advantage. Roll with advantage. What do we get here? Another natural 20. Here we go. Oh god, another 39 damage there, folks. So plus 39. Alright then. So now we're gonna roll with advantage again. Another natural 20 versus a natural 1. Good god, guys, we're on fire today. For a total of 37 damage. Plus 37. Alright, so I just want to make sure. Let me do this thing. We had 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have those are our 4 attacks, I believe. So 1 attack, 2 attack, 3 attack. Oh no, that was only 3 attacks. My bad. My bad. Only 3 attacks. Here's the 4th attack. Oh man, we almost got a bad roll, but hey, we made 8 damage anyway. So here's the damage out. Another 34 damage. Alright. Plus 34. Alright. Now we go into action surge. Okay, let's do the action surge. We got another attack. And this time I'm going to use some of my maneuvers. Alright, that's a 18. 52 to hit. So we're going to do this. There's 31 damage from that. Actually, no, we'll leave the action. We'll leave the maneuvers out. So that's the first attack. On to the second attack. All right, 46. Roll that damage. Oh, nice 10 damage right there. That's another 38 damage. All right, roll with advantage again on the third attack of action surge. Oh, double 2s. That's still a hit, though. Minimum 29 damage. Okay, it's not bad. And finally, our last attack with advantage. Alright then, and we're going to roll that damage out. So this is the proper way of doing it. So we have another 37 damage. And now bonus action. Roll with advantage again. There's another hit. And so then we have another 31 damage plus 31. And then we roll the last one with advantage again. No final crits this time, but you know what? This is still yet another 30 damage dealt to the Tarrasque itself. Alright. So, we killed the Tarrasque in 2 turns. Because that one is 374 damage dealt. On top of the 280 damage we did before. That's over 600 damage. Plus we got a few crits in there, which cast power would kill. Which means that as soon as it dropped below 100 hit point, it died. This is an example of an unbalanced weapon. It has a lot of interesting effects on it. This is true. but it is not a good weapon. It is not a good item. This will break any campaign it's in. And I just showed you the bare bone basics. That's not including a martial fighter's maneuvers, which adds an additional D12 of stuff onto it. So if I got a critical hit on one of these attacks here, I'm just gonna try and do this again. Let me see. Can I get a crit in here, please, real fast? No, doesn't matter. Alright. We're gonna go to features. We're gonna go to class features. We're gonna go down to, you know, combat superiority right here. All right, we have our superiority dice. So we have our superiority dice here, the student of war. What does this thing do? Oh, well, let's see. We can make it make a strength saving throw, and hit with thing. I add the superiority dice damage roll to the target thing. Well, even if it doesn't work, I would still do it. 6d12, so a d12. So if we were to take that and we add 2d12 to this, there we go. That's another 17 damage on top of the already massive amount of damage. As proof that, you know, when you're thinking of a magical item, you need to think about the balance behind it. This is unbalanced. Now I gotta go though. I'm gonna go get some water because I've talked a lot in this one. I kind of went off on this thing. So we'll be right back, folks, while I go get some water. And I also gotta double check on something as well. So be right back. Ad break starting soon. So yeah. Alrighty, we're back. I got some cheeses here, so if you hear me take a bite of something. Anyway, back to the topic of conversation here. So while the Sword of God Slaying may be a fun magical item, it is definitely broken. And that's the thing you gotta be mindful of when you're making items for players. Because players, like me, or Dungeon Masters like me, will find ways to break an item in ways that you never intended to. So, again, the primary example, this is... If anything, I would get rid of this entire thing right there. I would get rid of this right here, and this entire thing. Just don't give it any extra attack beyond reason, because that's what makes it broken. And the fact that it comes in at level 15, which means that you're already... But if this is a late game item, then it's already broken. There's probably other items that exist that are broken enough as is. You don't need that little skill thing. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that from my collection. I'm going to go ahead and take this equipment, and we are going to unequip and delete. Get that out of here. And then I'm going to go back and make this character level 14 again, because that's what she was. I'm also going to close this out because apparently it's starting to lag. So this is some thought. So whenever you make an item, you got to think of the thought process in two different aspects. One, what do you want the item to do? And two, if you were using it, how would you break it? That's kind of my big key takeaways of making magical items and everything like that. So while at it, let's go ahead and, make a magical item here. I've got a number of things. If I had to go to my campaign here real fast, we'll go to my campaign. We'll go to Tales from Cestria right here. And let's go ahead and take someone onto item that we already have. Actually, wait. Let's take Barb, for example. Barb was reading a spell, and we need a new item for Barb to use eventually. The spell in question is the 6th level spell. Manage spells. Non-spell. Where is it? Gotta scroll all the way down. Druid's Grove, right here. Now this thing requires, it says mistletoe, but we're doing something different. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna create, not that. We're gonna create a new magic item. I don't know whose number that is, but you can leave a message for me. Let's see, make a magic item. And we're going to create it from scratch because this item does not exist anywhere. So again, this is an example of like we'll make this a legendary style item, and it is a item. I like to call it. No need a version of it. And the type of item it is, it's a wondrous item, because it's not anything that one can equip. But we'll call this the Sacred Tree Seed. And I know that is incorrect because I can't spell. And we'll just do that. Nope, that's not what I want. Paste that. Alright. Sacred Tree Seed. Now, it's all nice and fun to come up with massive amounts of lore for an item or for a place or a location. but that's not something we're going to work on today. Because I'm not working on that today. I'm working on showcasing like the thought process behind it. So the biggest things that the biggest way you can work on items, you have, you know, I'm gonna put it this way here. We have the lore of the item slash the description. The lore slash description of an item. This is where you just talk about, you know, what is the item, what does it do, why does it, how does it do, and everything like that. The next thing you need to think about is, we'll call it the power, which is a breakdown of what does the item do, what is the inherent nature of this item. The next thing that one should think about is the drawback. The drawback is basically, what is the drawback of this item? Does it have a drawback? Is it not powerful enough to warrant a drawback? As another example, I have an item called the Ever Clean Pot. What is the drawback of the Ever Clean Pot? Nothing. It's a pot that has the ability to cast prestidigitation on itself. That's it. It doesn't do anything. The drawback is you have to have the pot in order to use it. That's it. That's the drawback. And that's just a simple thing of just like, all right, there's no need for a pot. But say like, you know, let's say like for the Sacred Tree Seed here, I have one major drawback that I've already thought of. If a Sacred Tree Seed, which I forgot, I just do this instead, is grown and is not, let's say, let's do this instead, is harvested through unnatural means, comma, it loses its magical powers within 24 hours. Period. So that's the biggest drawback of this thing. That's one of the biggest drawbacks I have for the seed here. If it's harvested through unnatural means it loses its magical power within 24 hours. So a druid could theoretically, you know, grow an infinite amount of these seeds. But I'm also going to make a note here. Artificially grown sacred tree seeds cannot be used to create a permanent druid's grove. Period. That's the other thing. It cannot, and we'll capitalize sacred tree, and then we capitalize seeds. Cannot be used to create a permanent druid's grove. So those are the two biggest drawbacks to it. So Druid's Grove saying that if you cast the spell in the same location for over a year, you create a permanent settlement, a permanent Druid's Grove. Harvesting these things does not do that. Eat my Cheez-Its now. Good old Cheez-Its. I apologize for chewing in you guys' ear. All right. So, but now what does the? But now that we have like some of the drawbacks of it, and I'll probably add some more drawbacks in as well, because this is it's a pretty powerful item. Because not only is this being used as a material component in spells, I can also make it a potion ingredient as well. So let's do this. The Sacred Tree Seed has the capabilities to cure just about any magical wound when brewed into a potion. That's one of the biggest things I want to say. So it's basically into a potion. I'll say, and is a key please don't break a computer. Ingredient in the crafting of elixirs. Alright, there we go. When brewed into a potion, and is a key ingredient in crafting elixirs. Now, let's see, what else are we going to do? Let's add a thing in front of this sentence here. Well, put a comma, space, and then... If a sacred tree seed is harvested under the light of a full moon... Oh, nothing came through. How about this? Better that. If the sacred tree seed is harvested under the light of a full moon... There we go. Apparently I didn't like starting off like that, so... And then we'll capitalize sacred tree and seed. And seed, my bad. Alright. So there we go. That's the power. If the sacred tree seed is harvested under the light of a full moon, the sacred tree seed has the capability to cure just about any magical wound, when brewed into a potion, and is a key ingredient to crafting elixirs. A sacred tree seed can also be used. That's a thing. Sacred tree seed in a number of druidic spells and rituals for various additional effects. Period. Alright. And then we're going to come through here. So now there's a reason to actually properly harvest. There are now proper reasons to harvest the sacred tree seed for things other than potion raising. You also have druidic spells. Hey, I'm also gonna put this here. The artificial sacred tree seeds can also not be used in a majority of druidic spells. Period. Yes, so I'll put that there. A-S-T-S. This is this. No, too many. So, I say, hey, and I have this in here, in a majority of druidic spells. So meaning that if there's other druidic spells that require like the use of seeds, can't be used. It does not work. Or more specifically, ritual spells. I'll call it druidic ritual spells. Yeah. If you have like a thing like catapult or a bonus thing like that, it's still going to be useful. But you can't. Thing it through unimaginable means, and it becomes an artificial sacred tree seed. Yep. And then we'll do artificial sacred tree seed. Loses its power within 24 hours, everything like that. I mean, we'll just go ahead and do copy this, and we'll just do that. Cannot be used in anything, but can be used in the. It can be used as a material component to create a temporary grove. Yeah. Let's do this like this, and then do component. There we go. And then temporary. All right. And as far as various effects that can happen from these things, I'll probably add like certain things. So. No, but there you go. That's kind of the basics of how you should come up with magical items, or at least how I come up with magical items. I can't say you should or you can, because there's, as you can see, a number of ways to do this sort of thing. And there's no one way to create a magic item. There's no one way to create balance and utilize things in a proper way or not proper way. But the point is that we're just going to go ahead and hit create item so that it's actually done. Wait for it to load up. Bam. So there it is. Now we can do other modifiers in D&D Beyond, but the important thing is that this is the item right here. I'm keeping those things in for right now, but I will eventually like do some proper formatting, make it look nice and pretty. Maybe put like a divide in here instead of the drawback, the power, and lore description and stuff like that. But that's kind of the idea behind creating an item. What is the history behind it is extra. When designing for an actual tabletop game, the first thing you should think about is what is its functionality in this game. You can come up with lore for it later. A lot of people tend to come up with the lore first and forget to make the mechanics later. So sometimes coming up with the mechanics first and then the lore behind it is a lot better way to approach creating things. It also helps you keep control over what you're putting into your world. Because if you say like, oh yeah, it's the legendary blade that felled the great dark lord. Well, now you have to make this legendary blade, and if you make it some mediocre longsword that does 2d12 damage instead of 1d8 damage, then it's not. That's a legendary sword. That doesn't feel legendary. But as an example, if we build, this is where I like building custom items instead. She does not have the Staff of Snakes on here. Oh, there it is. But like the Staff of Snakes right here. No one, I don't have the lore entirely for the Staff of Snakes being flushed out. I have instead. Here's the thing: a staff carved in a wooden in a red cypress, carved out of a red cypress tree, engraved with druidic runes. Integrated indentation carved out of the wood suggests that other items once belonged on this staff. And then here is the thing: as a bonus action, you can summon a swarm of snakes for 30 minutes. This ability recharges after a long rest or expending one spell slot of any level to charge the staff. That's the effect of the staff. And then it has additional effects added on top of it. And the Gemstone of Spiritual Endurance. As a bonus action, you can give a creature +5 temporary hit points once per turn. When attached to the Staff of Snakes, all summoned creatures via a spell or the staff gain +10 temporary hit points. So they just get an additional temporary hit points because it's a thing. So it's called the Staff of Snakes, but it's seems to be a legendary. It's a legendary item in and of its own right. And as it gets more stuff added to it, the more powerful thing. But know that I don't have any lore written for the Gem of Spiritual Endurance. Where did it come from? Who crafted it? And there's no description of it. It's just a magical gemstone, and I have the effect for it. But by itself, the drawback is you can't get this thing for it. You have to have the staff for it in order to use it. But you can give temporary hit points to other creatures once per turn. That's a bonus action. So you know, it has its benefits. If I go one step further, let's take a look at Hanyakusha here for a moment. Hanyakusha has an item being built overall too. I haven't given him a proper equipment thing right now because currently it is individual stuff. But he has the Ring of Lore, which gives +2 to history checks. That's it, nothing else. And then we have Quill, which I put a fun little quote in here. A ring that has a small fitting for a magical gemstone. While wearing this ring that's equipped with a magical gemstone, you gain +1 to all unarmed strikes. That's it. So now the ring acts as a two-part thing. Not only does it have the +1 to unarmed all strikes, but you also get an additional benefit based off of a magical gemstone. So, unfortunately, I don't know where his magical gemstone is located. I think he just has a regular powered gemstone in there. It has no special characteristic or anything like that in it for now. Unless you put it in the party's inventory. Alright. But now let's go one step further. Let's look at Phantom. Phantom has a blade in the works as well. The Crescent Moon Guard. Alright, which we saw earlier. This blade is placed. When a blade is placed in this artifact, it becomes a +1 blade. That's what it does. Doesn't do much else to it. But he does have the old version. It has the old version of it. Hold on a second. Let's go to my homebrew collection. Switch to magic items. Gemstone. Help narrow it down. What's the difference here? Why do I have it in here twice? I don't know what the difference is, but oh wait, one requires attunement. That's why. That's the difference. I took off the attunement requirement for it. That's why. Alright, because again, I don't necessarily agree with attunement. It's all part of the item thing. But yeah, there you go. So we know. So the Crescent Moon Guard and the Star Diamond Gemstone have a connection. When slotted into the Crescent Moon Guard, the user gains one first level spell slot, or if the user is a spellcaster, gains one additional spell slot of 5th level or lower via this weapon, and if it's a warlock, they just gain an additional spell slot. So now, the warlock, who normally only has 2 5th level spell slots, now has 3 5th level spell slots because of that gemstone inside the handle. That's part of the legendary item. I got to, we're gonna go a little bit further on that eventually, but for the meanwhile, let's go to Kyoku here. Kyoku has the Ebony Willow Staff, and this one is again fleshed out. Ebony Willow Staff is made out of an ebony willow tree near the Shalpa Forest. The twisted shaft of the staff has multiple runic markings that allows the staff to store one spell of 5th level lore, gives +1 to melee attacks. Nice. There's also multiple spots on the staff that seem to have once held spot odds for other adornments and that seem to have been lost. That's just me doing bad writing. And we can see that we have the gemstone of Moonlight's Grace, the bracelet of Convergence, and 3 other slots. Now I need to go in here and like flush them out further. But if we go over here, look at the gemstone Convergence, there's the entire effect of the gemstone Convergence. It allows them to make a mana blade. As a bonus action, you can channel magic into the staff and the gemstone to create a large mana blade in the shape of a scythe. The blade does 2d8 radiant damage upon hit with a melee attack. That's what the thing does. And Bracelet of Convergence is another one. It's just a simple bracelet that says melee attacks done by a spellcaster is done by their spellcasting modifier instead of their strength or dexterity. So in the case of this one, it's intelligence. But that's the secret to coming up with magical items. If you want a legendary item, don't start off with some big, grandiose magical item. Start off with something small and build up from that. Add more to it. Make it more legendary, as I say. Good times, though. I'm just finishing up my little snack here. Got some cheese left. Cheese and a drink here. Alrighty, so with that in mind, let's move on to the next topic at hand. And the next topic is, of course, spells. Let's get rid of gemstone in here real fast. There we go. So, what makes a good spell? Well, there's a number of things that make a good spell and a bad spell. And I think the easiest example is, let's take a look at, True Strike. The ever classic, terrible spell, terrible cantrip spell, True Strike. It has its place, but it is not a very good spell overall. The spell does exactly as one would think. It just, it gives advantage on an attack roll, and that's it. But it's concentration, and you have to point your finger at a target and everything like that. It's not that great. So what I do, I made a spell called Temple True Strike. It's now a bonus action, and that's it. Yep. And then right here you got a you toss the material component is moonstone, a fistful of moonstone sand, and which the spell consumes. And basically, you toss a fistful of moonstone sand in a circle facing the target of your spell. The magic grants you a brief insight of the target's future location. You gain advantage on your attack roll against the target until the end of your next turn. Bonus action to cast 30 feet area. Lasts for 2 rounds. Short, and simple. That's what it is. But then I also got things like wall nullification, What is wall nullification? You conjure an invisible barrier that disrupts the flow of magic itself. Choose one of the following forms in which you cast the spell. A flat wall up to 100 feet long, 10 feet high, and 1 inch thick. Make a dome with a 10-foot radius centered on a point on which you can see within range. The wall is completely intangible. Creatures, arrows, and other physical objects pass through it freely. However, any spell, magical effect, or magical projectile that attempts to pass through the barrier is either in either direction is stopped and dissipated. When a spell collides with a wall, roll all the spell's damage, if applicable, and apply it to the wall magical integrity. Apply to the wall's magical integrity points, MIP. If the wall's MIP is reduced to 0, the wall collapses instantly and the spell ends. The wall has 100 MPI at 3rd level. When cast at a higher level spell slot, the MPI increases by 50 for each slot above 3rd. The wall is invisible, but glimmers briefly. Dim light a radius of 5-foot radius. Dim light a 5-foot radius at the point of impact where the spell collides with it. The wall does not block anti-magic. The wall does not block anti-magic fields, counterspell effects, or dispel magic attempts that target it directly. However, counterspell must be cast before the spell takes effect as normal. So I forget the reason why I put that in there, but pretty much, yeah, it's just a wall all up against magic, because there's a lot of walls that block physical attributes and physical directions, but nothing that really stopped magical. So I made one that stopped magical. We've got Summon Celestial. I don't know why I have it in here multiple times. I think I just had it in there to find it easier. I don't remember what it is, I think. But I also have like some of my older ones, like Shadow Bolt. It's a 1st level spell. You should had a black and purple book of shadow necromantic energy flying out towards the target creature. Make a ranged spell attack. On hit, the target takes 1d12 plus your spellcasting modifier, necrotic damage. Damage is also affected by the Bane spell until the end of its next turn. That's it. It's a 1st level spell that basically deals damage and casts Bane at the same time. And then we have Shadowlance, the spell that killed our bard player. The 6d12 necrotic damage, and if it drops it to 0, they reduce to a pile of thin gray dust. Oh dear, I forgot. I didn't realize that there was a spelling error in there. Good God, me. I'll have to fix it later. But the same concept applies to a lot of the logic here. When coming up with a spell, you gotta kind of come up with what is the spell trying to do. Is it more utilitarian? Is it more combat oriented? Is it both? The Lunar Clock spell right here, which is published on D&D Beyond. Basically, all this does is tells you the time of day. That's what it is. It's just a clock. That's all it does. There's no special things. However, if you it's one action to cast, but if you take time to cast it as a ritual for 10 minutes, you get additional benefits. So there's a benefit of casting it over a long time. And also you kind of get a lighting effect based on the moon's current cycle, which I am now actively keeping a better track of, so I can actually tell my players, like, this is the moon cycle right now. Thank you. But if we go back to, where is it? Let's go back to a favorite spell of our wizard here, Time Bolt. basically another, like, projectile-based thing. The spell sends out bolts of energy into the future to strike at a target at a time when they least expect it. When you cast the spell, target one creature or object. Roll 1d4. This determines how many rounds it takes for the bolt of energy to strike at the target. When this counter is up, the bolt appears and hits the target. The bolt appears and hits the target. It's not entirely true because I say afterwards immediately, make a spell attack roll with advantage. On hit, target takes 1d8 force damage. The spell cannot be counterspelled. The spell cannot be counterspelled, and it cannot be cast again until it has completed its casting. So that's the downside for it. So you got a very powerful upside that you cast a spell, but but it looks like nothing happened. And then, so when nothing happens, the caster can't counterspell it. But then also, because you've already cast it, you can't cast it again because it's still happening. It hasn't happened yet. Now, it can lead to some strange little, effects if you kill the target before the time bolt comes out. It will strike the inanimate body instead. So unfortunately, it's one of those things that you pick a target that isn't being directly focused and it hits that target. That's kind of the idea behind it. Or if you're facing a big boss and you cast it early enough, you can probably deal some extra damage when you need it the most. Again, the drawback for it is that you gotta either wait up to a minimum of 1 turn or at worst 4 turns, which has happened before. But that's the idea behind coming up with spells. You want to make something that adds things, but also is reasonable. Let's take Scattershot here for the thing. The ingredients for this is it's bludgeoning damage, just straight up bludgeoning damage. Because why? Taking a fairly decent sized rock of any kind, the caster channels arcane energy into it, and causing it to explode outward in a direction. Creatures within a 30-foot cone of the caster must make a dexterity saving throw. And take 2d6 thunder damage and 1d8 bludgeoning damage, half upon success. Yes. Creatures within 15 feet of the cone take an additional 1d8 bludgeoning damage, as due to the smaller spread area of the spell. So this is one of those things that if you're firing it's like a shotgun pretty much. But if you're just covering a 30-foot cone, bang, you cover a 30-foot cone, you hit everyone within it to a degree, because it's a rapid fire shrapnel. You can dodge shrapnel, but you're still gonna probably get hit by some of it. That's why the damage is reduced. But if you're really close, well, now you're getting more shrapnel into you, so you're taking more damage for it. And of course, I gave it up a level power slots, which means that it increases the damage slot. So when casting the spell at 3rd level or higher, the material weight must be at least 11 pounds at 3rd level and 1 pound per higher spell slot. The damage increases by 1d6 thunder damage and 1d8 bludgeoning damage per spell slot used. So it can be real dangerous real fast. And then of course we got like the Moonfire Blade right here, which I don't remember where I got this thing. I think this was another person's. While holding this weapon in hand, you can make a next melee attack and things. So yeah. And then I have another spell over here. Medium Mage Armor. This one I won't be able to publish because it's too much like Mage Armor. Because it is Mage Armor. But it's a better version of Mage Armor. Instead of it being a 1st level spell, it's now a 3rd level spell. Which means that you spend a 3rd level spell, your AC becomes 15, plus your dexterity modifier, a max of 2. Because normally, probably with Mage Armor, if I actually click on the Mage Armor here, it'll take me to it. Mage Armor, your AC becomes 13. plus its dexterity modifier, which is basically the most standard of armor. So there we go. We have all that. Hi, Smokey. So that's what that is. Medium mage armor is that, but it just goes up one extra level. So now you have a 15 armor class plus a maximum of 2, making it 17. Then there's one more I'm going to make. It's called heavy mage armor, and that basically just gives you a flat 18, which gives you a massive armor bonus as well, and it's a lot more physically durable. So it'll make your armor, it'll make your AC 18, no dexterity modifier, and I'll probably have something along the lines that it also reduces physical damage. You also can reduce physical damage by a certain amount, but at the cost of spell durability. Meaning that you can actually physically break mage armor. Ow! Don't bite me. Don't bite me, cat. I'm just scratching you. Did you decide to get on my lap? You are just a needy, needy little cat. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Sorry. But yeah, nope, you don't need that. You don't need that either. Cat, you're being annoying. So yeah, that's the kind of things that one needs to think of when you're coming up with the spells and everything. What does it do? How do you balance it out? And go from there. Utilizing this time, let's go ahead and take a look at the spells, like magical spells, here in the homebrew section of D&D, because that's a fantastic way to get an idea of what exactly we're looking for when making spells. So, starting off with origami. This is a cantrip spell. It's the top rated one right here. Alright. Let's see what it says here. It's a 5-foot range, 1 action, transmutation spell, no attacks, visual component of verbal and somatic spelling casting, so no materials needed to it. Although it is, I would say it's a business thing. You magically fold and animate tiny pieces of paper or similar material, such as a leaf, within range. You can fold it into one of the following shapes: boat, crane, dog, flower, samurai. The boat floats on and is not destroyed by water. Oh no. When placed in water, you can mentally direct the boat to move in any direction along the water's surface at a speed of 5 feet per round. The boat is able to carry a single tiny object that weighs 1 pound or less. Nice little effect there. The crane. The crane has a flight speed of 10 feet. It can be mentally directed. You can mentally direct the crane to move, or name a location within 1 mile of you know of. The crane will fly to that location and land, becoming inert. That's a fantastic way of sending messages. You know, you write a note down, use the spell, send it a mile away, it lands, they open it up, they see the message, and voila, it's done. That's a beautiful... I can see why this is the #1 rated. This is a beautiful spell. I like this spell. I might add this to my world. Dog. Has a movement speed of 10 feet, can mentally move the dog in any direction to move. If a creature hostile to you moves within 10 feet of the dog moves up to its speed and gives off a loud barking noise. Afterwards, the dog unfolds itself and becomes inert. Good. That's a nice little warning system. That's awesome. All right, the flower. The flower is controlled by the time of day. It is open during the day and closed during the night. During sunrise and sunset, the flower slowly opens and closes respectively. Nice little fluff text there. So if you want to have like a delayed message for somebody, right, you put it down at night, and then as it opens up in the morning, the message is revealed. And the samurai. The samurai has a movement speed of 5 feet. You can mentally control the samurai. The samurai always points its sword in the direction of the nearest castle or fort. Directional traveling. And this is a fantastic example of a good spell. I'm going to add that to my collection. I like this one. It's strong. As a cantrip, it's very strong for what it is. You have a number of options that are very useful in certain scenarios. It is a fantastic use of a cantrip spell, though, because nothing is too inherently overpowered. It lasts for an hour, it is 1 action to cost, and it does little things. A beautifully crafted spell. Let's take a look at another one. Let's look at Facepalm here. I think this one's a troll. Cantrip. You slap your hand with mighty magical powers, alerting every creature within 600 feet that something disappropriating has happened. That's not a good thing. Let's see. Let's find here we go. We got a egg. Summon 1d6 eggs. They're all eggs. The egg spell. I'm sure many of these have been seen from XP to level 3's videos. So I'm just going off of examples of what makes it good and what makes it good. I think. So, corpse bomb. Let's look at this one here. The corpse of a recently deceased creature rapidly blows at your command and erupts into a gruesome explosion. You target the corpse of a creature that's been dead for no longer than 1 minute and use that you can see within range, detonating it. Each creature within 5 feet of this, in a 5 feet sphere created centered around that corpse must make a dexterity saving. The target takes 2d8 necron damage on a failed save and half upon a successful one. The size of the explosion increases by 5 feet for any size larger than medium. Again, this is a fantastic spell. This is a fantastic spell because it works really well in a mass battle scenario where an enemy dies on the back line. You can just disrupt the back line. And it's not powerful. It's a first level, so it's not powerful enough to deal a ton of damage, but it deals a decent amount of damage. 2d8 necrotic damage is not a bad set of damage until you get something that's immune to necrotic damage, and that's a different problem. Again, a fantastic example of what a good spell can look like. It has a good effect, it has limitations, yet at the same time is a viable spell in most scenarios. Let's take a look at the worst one. Mind Control. First level spell. Allows the player to control any creature or possessed item within 100 feet, as long as the player knows its name and language. Duration, infinite. Bonus action to cast. This I agree is a terrible spell because there's no restrictions on it. There's nothing. Oh, another player is pissing me off. Mind control the character, jump him off a cliff. Because you probably know the name of your party member that pissed you off. No, if anything, this should be a higher level spell, like a 7th or 9th level spell, somewhere in that range, somewhere very powerful spell, not a bonus action, and should have a time limit. Should also have more components and everything. Should give the character a saving throw opportunity. This is a example of a spell that is doing too much for so little of a cost. Not a good spell. Oh boy, what's this one? Flame Barrage of the Awakened One. 9th level spell, 1 action, 60 foot, verbal component only, so you just have to yell it out. Instantaneous conjuration. Code the speed of the ancient primordials to awaken the power that has been kept away in the world. It's more fucking runes here, man. Awaken, oh great one. DC 26. There's a lot. 20 D6 damage. I can see why this one is not very good. There is a lot. I'm not reading through everything, but this is a lot. This is a lot for a spell. Granted, it's 9th level. It is a 9th level spell slot for 20 d6 damage. That's a decent amount. Oh, wait, hold on. This is getting ridiculous. 40d6 plus 40d6 plus 20d6. Yeah, this is just... That's over. This is overkill. It's overkill. A 9th level should be incredibly powerful, but not, like, ridiculous. This is ridiculous. So again, that's my say on magic. Battle mage armor. Oh, here's another one. What's this one on? If you're not wearing armor, your arcane aura coalesces into a projective magical force surrounding you until the spell ends. Your AC becomes... Okay, you get mage armor here. The spell ends if the target dons armor, or if you dismiss it as an action. When you reach the AC increases further at 11. Okay, increases further to what? And further to what? Oh, it increases by your spell casting modifier. But it further increases by your proficiency bonus, and at 17 increases by your proficiency bonus again. Just give flat numbers. Just give flat numbers. This feels like a very good spell, but at the same time, you read it and you realize that there's not a lot of good spells going in on it. There's not a lot of good things. That's the reason it's similar to my medium mage armor and the soon to be created heavy mage armor. But at the same time, it just doesn't. It's not clear on what it's talking about. What's the material component? An arcane focus. That's not a material component. That's not a material component. That's just a focus. A material component is something physical that needs to be utilized to do so. But I digress and everything like that. So yeah. So you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to create a spell. And again, we're going to make the medium mage armor. And I'm gonna go here, grab the 5IV Colt or Rules Legacy. Because again, I am making this thing here. I'm gonna go heavy mage armor. The third one was a 3rd level spell. This is going to be a 6th level spell. Kind of keep things in. 1 action time. Piece of cured leather will make this a piece of steel or other metal. A piece of metal. A piece of metal. A piece of metal. A piece of metal armor. This is a touch spell. It is a time for 8 hours. I'm not changing any of those things. And now we're going to say the AC becomes 18. AC becomes 18. Spell ends on dawn or you dismiss that spell action. And so, as that, you touch a willing creature thing. Actually, I'm going to do this real fast. I'm going to double check my own version of the mage armor to make sure I'm doing this correctly. So type in mage. We'll go down to medium mage armor. You touch a willing creature who isn't wearing armor, the spell ends. Until the spell ends. Yep, there it is, all right there. Probably going to add some additional effects to the other one too, just to make sure the thing. In addition, that becomes 18. In addition, any damage that is inflicted upon the creature is reduced by 1. I'm gonna look up the feat for heavy armor and everything like that, because I'm gonna pull a little bit from there, because this is a 6th level spell. It should do more than just, you know, give you an AC of 18. It should do a bit more. It's a higher level spell, so it needs to do something else. Where is... That's spellcasting. I need feats. Where is it? I believe it is heavy armor mastery. Heavy armor mastery. So Heavy Armor Master reduces the damage by 3. So I'm gonna make this a little bit better. It reduces any physical damage inflicted by 1d6. 1d6 plus 3. There we go. So there we go. Heavy mage armor. We'll do it at higher levels. If this spell is cast at a 7th level or higher, the damage reduction increases by 1d6 per level above 7th. Level above 7th. So basically, yeah, you can cast it at a 9th level spell, and you get 6, 7, 1, 6. So D6 has. So the D6 X does that, and then we have 6th level, 7th, 8th, 9th. So you can get 4d6 plus 3 damage reduction on a 9th level spell. So there we go. Oh, I'm gonna do spell leveling. There we go. Hit save changes. For now, do that. Come over to modifiers. We're going to edit this modifier. Set the value to 18. That's the armor class. Get rid of this detail right here. I'm gonna come back over to here and I'm gonna copy this detail. And we'll put that there. And at higher. So unfortunately, we can't really do an at higher level thing because the only thing you can scale is this. Special. That's what I'll call it. Set that. Save it for real fast. Come up to here. Copy this. Edit this. Push that in there. Do that. There we go. Hit save changes. And we go from there. Alright. So now I'm going to hit refresh on this page. So now we have the heavy mage armor. And since I added more text to it, changed up a little bit of the effects there, it's no longer considered the same as mage armor, unlike this one. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'll come into medium mage armor here. You got a piece of cured leather. I'm gonna look up medium armor mastery as well. Let's see. Let's see. Heavy armor mastery. Where is medium? Medium armor mastery. This one also does the reduce. When you wear medium, you add 3 rather than 2. Okay, so yes. This one increases the amount. So medium armor mastery increases the amount of damage that you increases the amount of AC that you can have. In addition, and reduce when the creature takes physical damage. So you know what this will do. First of all, I'm gonna face this again. When the creature takes physical damage. That's not how you spell physical, Hiita. Come on now. Physical damage. That damage is reduced by 1d6. By 1d6. Actually, let's do this. It's reduced by 3. So we'll just have this thing being reduced by 3 in general. Because it's a magical resistance and everything like that. Gives a little bit more physicality to the armor and whatnot. I'm not going to include higher scaling for it because that's what the other one is for. But we're going to do that. I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to go back to my homebrew creations. I'm going to type in the mage armor again, and we'll see if it actually yells at me for a thing. Mage. Does it yell at me for medium mage armor being too close? No, because I added text to it. So there we go. So that's the, and that again, that's the thought process I'm having behind these spells, is what is going to make these spells want to be taken, for one. And granted, this is me just taking an existing spell and modifying it, because let's face it, there's a lot of spells in D&D already, and in a lot of tabletop games in general. So there's not a lot of changes that need to be made. Just run the spells as is, for the most part. That's how I view it. But if you want to add something to it, make it simple. Oh, don't try and come up with the grand master of everything. No, let's take Maximilian's spectacular homage. This is another spell I created. I believe this is a bard spell. Yes, it is a bard spell specifically. Maximilian's spectacular homage. Upon striking flint and steel together, the caster magically begins to channel an aura around them, granting their allies a blessing while causing a hindrance to the foes. For up to 5 minutes, the caster performs various entertaining acts such as small magic tricks, dancing, singing, or even poetic storytelling. And while performing the spell, the caster is unable to use. The caster is unable. Oh. Okay, I need to edit this one a little. That's a bad thing. Is unable to cast any other spells. There we go. Is unable to cast any other spell else, and must use a bonus action each time to keep this spell in effect. The spell ends if the performance stops for any reason, the caster is unable to speak, or if another creature casts to dispel magic spells, or the caster fails a concentration check. That's the things. So if this spell is used during a short rest, the creatures within 30 feet gain up to half their total hit points in addition to the dice roll. So once per round while active, each friendly creature within 30 feet can heal 1d6 hit points at the start of their turn. If the creature is at full hit points, they can add 1d4 to an attack roll. Each hostile creature within 30 feet must roll a 1d4 and subtract that number of rolls from any ability checks and attack rolls. So there it is. That's the crux of the spell right there. I am going to actually cut this and put that there instead. And hit save before I forget. So yeah. So the thought process, what is the spell trying to do? The spell is supposed to help allies and hinder foes. So at a self distance of a range of 30 feet, within 30 feet of the caster, any enemies that are in range have basically Bane cast upon them. They have a minus 1d4 upon them. No saving throw or anything like that. It's just them being disadvantaged. Meanwhile, friendly creatures within range get healed and also can gain additional damage if they add 1d4, or if they have full health, they get additional bonuses to their attack roll. That is what the spell is meant for. It is a second level spell for a reason. It's providing multiple different effects, but it's still nothing ridiculous. It's 1d6 hit points at the start round. That's not a lot. You get 1 hit point back? Okay, you got 1 hit point back. Heck, otherwise, minus 1d4. That 1d4 can make all the difference. And that's an example of a completely homebrew spell. Oh. Nope. I want that one. Thank you. But yeah, there's an example of a completely homebrew spell that I created a while ago. It was just that, and it was just a spell that's like, aha, here's a bard spell for you. And that's the thing that one has saying. Moonfire Blade, here's another spell that I created myself. While holding Moonfire Blade, actually not this one. Minor Misdirect, is this one? I don't know, what's another? Lunar Bolt. Here we go. This is one of my own homebrew spells here. Lunar Bolt. You hold a moonstone, walk towards a creature or object within range. Make a spell attack roll on that target. On hit, the target takes 1d8 radiant damage and is illuminated by a pale moonlight glow until the end of its next turn. This glow sheds dim light out for 10 feet. The spell's damage increases by 1d8 and when you cast it. When you reach 5th level at we're going 2d8 and 3d8 thing. So this is a cantrip. It's basically a firebolt, but does radiant damage instead. That's all it is. A lot of times people think that they have to make spells being these super overly complicated and technical things, but really you could just make a new flavor text of firebolt. Magic is whatever you want it to be, and you don't have to think. Let's take Temporal Burst, another classic of Kyoku the Wizard. A ripple of time and space from the spot where you're pointing your finger at, and in the chosen range, basically you deal 4d6 radiant damage, 4d8 magical bludgeoning damage on a fail. Basically, you set off a bomb. It's just an explosion in space-time. It's basically a more physical and radiant version of Fireball, but it's basically a Fireball spell. But it utilizes for temporal magic. Oh. But yeah. So I do hope that this kind of gives Dungeon Masters an idea of what goes into coming up with spells, magical items, and everything like that. A lot of it is a very simple thing of you more likely do not have to worry about creating certain items, especially if you're running modules or rules as written. Just utilize what's in the book, because what's in the book is already tested and generally balanced, generally easy to use, generally straightforward to get to, and easy to understand as if you read the text. But if your players want to make something new, or you want to create a unique item, think about what is it there for? What benefit does it provide? And is there a drawback to having this item? Does it take the spot of another item? Is it a replacement of an existing item that is not powerful enough or broken? Why does the spell need to come into existence? Did the players want to create the spell, or are you reflavoring a spell? Are you making a new spell to fit within your world to be more logical? Or are you just trying to add additional reasons for people to utilize more powerful versions of older spells? One such example is Basha's Flaming Mage Armor. This is a mage armor that deals damage, and it's fire. And that's it. It's different than medium mage armor, and it's different than heavy mage armor. But that's what it's there for. And the last thing I do have to say, test everything. Don't just randomly... You can see, like, I have very few published spells in my list of spells here that I've created. Specifically for the reason of I have not tested them out entirely. Ice Blast right here. Hey, it seems very similar to Fireball. It's because it does ice damage. That's it. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. Because it's the ice version of Fireball. Because God knows I have Harry, Gary, Larry, the Blizzard Lizard Wizard, and he doesn't have an ice fireball spell. I just wanted an ice fireball, so I created Ice Blast. It just explosion of ice, because it's Blizzard magic, and I specialize in it. And stuff like that. So, a lot of it's very simple. Why does the spell exist? What benefit does it have? And can you keep control of it as a DM? Always think about, alright, I made this spell. How am I going to break it now? It's a fantastic way of thinking about a lot of things, especially if you want to have balance. You're not going to think of everything. Well, you can think, but if you were thinking in player terms, in player standards, and in like general existence of things, you will generally have a good idea of how things are going to get broken fairly easily. The Sacred Tree Seed, Barb already came up with the answer to that one. I'm just going to use Druid Grove, and I'm going to use Druid Magic to artificially grow the plants. Okay, how do I balance that out? Make it temporary. Make it short-lived. Limit the capabilities of an artificially grown plant versus a natural grown plant. But again, every DM is different. If you want complete broken, run complete broken. I ain't stopping you. I personally like to have a balance. I like to try and keep the world in order and in balance. And that's how I come up with my spells and my items. But that's just one additional page in the DM's handbook, and to every DM it's always different. Again, you do not have to create homebrew items, you do not have to create homebrew spells. But when you do, think about your players, the world, and why does it exist in the first place? Because just like making a map for tabletop things or video games in general, if there's no reason for this map to exist, then you don't need to make it. Anyway, that's all I really have today. So, it's a bit of a shorter stream today, but I have a few things I want to get done today that are not necessarily Actually, let's do this one. I like this screen better sometimes. See you next time. I'll see you soon. But yes, I got a few things I gotta do today that are outside of live streaming, and I've already gone over the 3 main topics of item creation, magic equipment, as well as spellcasting. So, with that in mind, guys, please be kind to one another. I may have bashed on some of the ideas that people had today, but there's some promise in a few of them. And yeah, I really don't have much else to say other than be kind to one another again, and we'll see you next week. So ends the birthday week. I'm all down. I can run for president. No, that's a scary thought. Me becoming the president of the United States. Who the hell would vote for me?